The kitchen was dark, save for the moonlight spilling through the window, painting silver streaks across the counter. I stood frozen, my fingers tight around a glass of Chardonnay, the wine trembling like my heart. Outside, the roses I'd tended for decades glowed faintly in the garden, their petals soft against the night. Inside, the air was thick with betrayal. Karen's voice cut through the quiet, sharp and slurred, from the living room just beyond the hall. "She's so clueless, Tom. I've been siphoning money from her account for a year, and she doesn't even blink. This house? It's gonna be ours soon enough." Laughter followed, ugly and loud, the kind that makes you feel like a fool in your own home. Tom, my boy, mumbled something weak, half-hearted, but Karen steamrolled over him. "Relax. She's too old to notice. Probably thinks it's her memory slipping." I didn't cry, I didn't gasp. I just stood there, the cold tile biting my bare feet, the scent of sugar cookies I'd baked that morning, lingering like a cruel joke. My kitchen, my sanctuary, felt foreign now. The fridge hummed softly, its door plastered with photos. Tom's gap-toothed grin at 6, our trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains, Karen's forced smile at last year's Thanksgiving. Lies, all of them. I'm Marilyn Forrester, 62. A retired nurse who spent 30 years bandaging wounds and soothing fears. I live in a 2-story house on a quiet street in Asheville, North Carolina, where oak trees shade the sidewalks and neighbors wave like they mean it. This house is my life's work of rescuff on the hardwood, every curtain I hemmed by hand, every rose I planted in the garden out back. I raised Tom here after his mama, my best friend, passed too young. I gave up dreams of seeing Paris or writing a book to pack his lunches, cheer at his baseball games, and tuck him in with stories of pirates and stars. I thought love was enough. I thought it made us family. Karen came into our lives 6 years ago, all charm and bright eyes, promising to love Tom the way I did. I welcomed her like a daughter, cooked her favorite lasagna, even gave her my mother's pearl earrings as a wedding gift. But the cracks showed fast. She'd roll her eyes when I talked about my garden, call my house outdated, forget my birthday, but never miss a chance to ask Tom about selling this place for a sleek condo downtown. I told myself she was young, just adjusting. I wanted to believe she cared. Lately, though, things didn't add up. Bills went unpaid, even after I handed Karen the checks to mail. My savings account dipped small amounts, never enough to scream theft, but enough to nag at me. I'd ask, and she'd laugh it off. "Oh, Marilyn, you know how banks are, probably a glitch." I'd nod, sip my tea, and let it go. I didn't want to doubt her. She was family, or so I thought. Tonight, her words burned that illusion to ash. I set the wine glass on the counter, afraid I'd drop it. My hands shook, but not from fear, from a spark of something sharper. Anger, maybe. Or pride. I slipped down the hall, past the living room where Karen's laughter still echoed, and into my bedroom. The door clicked shut, soft as a secret. In the closet, behind a stack of winter sweaters, was an old metal box, its edges rusted from years of hiding. I knelt, my knees creaking, and turned the combination by memory. Inside was a letter, the paper yellowed, ink faded but still sharp. It was from Tom's mama, written in a hospital bed 25 years ago. "Marilyn, take him, just for a while. I'm not strong enough." A while became forever. I'd built my life around that promise, around Tom. And Karen, that sly, selfish girl, thought she could unravel it with a smirk and a bank password. I read the letter, tracing her frantic handwriting, and felt my chest tighten, not with sadness, but with resolve. I wasn't the fool Karen thought I was. I closed the box, slid it back into the dark, and pulled a small notebook from my nightstand. Under the glow of a bedside lamp, I started writing. Dates, amounts, every odd withdrawal, every unpaid bill, every time Karen offered to help with my finances. The list grew, each word a brick in a wall I was building around myself. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the rocking chair by the window, the one I used to rock Tom in when he had nightmares. The garden outside was still, the roses swaying gently in the breeze. I thought about the years I'd spent tending them, coaxing beauty from stubborn soil. I thought about Karen, how she'd trampled my trust like weeds. And I thought about me, Marilyn, the woman who'd given everything and asked for nothing. Was I strong enough to take it all back? The question hung in the air, heavy as the dawn creeping over the horizon. I didn't have the answer yet, but I had something better, a start. If you've ever felt your heart break but found the strength to keep going, this story's for you. Subscribe to our channel to follow Marilyn's journey and drop a comment below. What do you think she should do next? Let's find out together. The sun was barely up, but I was already in the garden, my hands deep in the cool earth, pruning the roses. Their thorns pricked my fingers, a sharp reminder I was still alive, still here, despite the ache in my chest. Last night's revelation, Karen's betrayal, her cruel words echoing in my kitchen, had left me raw, but not broken, not yet. I clipped a wilted bloom, its petals curling like old secrets, and set it aside. Some things, I was learning, needed to be cut away to let the rest grow. I'm Marilyn Forrester, 62, a woman who spent her life tending to others first as a nurse, then as a mother to Tom, the boy I raised as my own. My house in Asheville, North Carolina, is a patchwork of memories. The creaky porch swing where I read to Tom, the kitchen table where we carved pumpkins, the rose garden I planted to keep him close, even when he grew up and drifted away. Karen, his wife, was supposed to be part of that patchwork, a new thread in our family. Instead, she'd been unraveling it, stitch by stitch, with her greedy hands and sharper tongue. I hadn't confronted her yet. That night in the kitchen, when I overheard her boasting about stealing from me, I'd slipped away before she could see me. But the hurt didn't make me weak, it woke me up. I started noticing things I'd ignored. The way Karen offered to handle my bills, her quick excuses when I asked about missing statements, the smug tilt of her mouth when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd called me clueless, old. I'd show her just how wrong she was. That morning, after my gardening, I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of chamomile tea, the steam curling like a question mark. The house was quiet. Tom was at work, Karen out running errands, probably at some boutique spending money she hadn't earned. I opened my laptop, something I rarely used except for recipes or emailing old friends. My fingers hesitated over the keys, then typed in the login for my bank account. The numbers stared back at me. $5,200 gone over 6 months, withdrawn in small, sneaky chunks, $200 here, $500 there. Never enough to raise a red flag, but enough to hurt. I printed the statements, the paper warm in my hands, and tucked them into a folder labeled recipes to keep Karen's prying eyes away. Next, I sifted through the mail basket on the hall table. Among junk flyers and grocery coupons, I found an envelope I'd given Karen to send a utility bill, due last month, still sealed. My stomach twisted. She hadn't mailed it. She'd promised, smiled that syrupy smile, and lied. I added the envelope to my folder, my hands steady now, fueled by a quiet fire. I needed help, someone I could trust. I picked up the phone and dialed Julia Hastings, my old friend from nursing school, now a lawyer in downtown Asheville. Her voice was warm, like always, but sharpened when I told her what I'd found. Marilyn, this isn't just carelessness, it's theft. Come to my office tomorrow. Bring everything. I agreed, feeling a weight lift, just a little. Julia was no nonsense, the kind of woman who'd face a storm with her sleeves rolled up. I needed that now. Before I could second-guess myself, I drove to a hardware store on Patton Avenue and bought a small security camera, the kind folks use for porches. Back home, I set it up in my study, tucked between dusty Reader's Digest volumes on a bookshelf. Its lens pointed at my desk, where I kept my checkbook and financial files. If Karen was digging, I'd catch her. I tested the feed on my phone, the image crisp, my oak desk, the lamp I'd bought at a flea market, the rug Tom used to play cars on. It felt strange, turning my home into a trap, but Karen had made it necessary. That afternoon, I visited Evelyn, my neighbor across the street. She was 70, with a laugh like wind chimes and a backyard full of hydrangeas. We sat on her patio, sipping iced tea, the air sweet with blooming roses from my garden across the way. I hadn't planned to tell her everything, but the words spilled out: Karen's betrayal, the missing money, the ache of feeling invisible in my own life. Evelyn listened, her eyes soft but fierce. Marilyn, you're no wilting flower. You raised Tom alone, kept that house standing through storms. You'll get through this too. She squeezed my hand, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel alone. Evelyn's words stayed with me as I drove home, the Blue Ridge Mountains a hazy silhouette against the sky. She was right, I wasn't done yet. But the hurt still gnawed, sharp as a thorn. I thought of Tom, my boy, caught between his mother and his wife. I remembered teaching him to ride a bike on our street, his wobbly grin under a too big helmet. When Karen came along, I'd hoped she'd be his partner, not his puppet master. Instead, she'd pushed me out, bit by bit skipping family dinners, forgetting to invite me to Tom's birthday. I'd let it slide, thinking love meant patience. Now I saw it for what it was, manipulation. 2 days later, the camera paid off. I checked the footage after dinner, while Karen and Tom were out at some friend's barbecue. The screen showed my study at midnight, the desk lamp casting long shadows. Then Karen appeared, her silhouette sharp in a silk robe. She glanced over her shoulder, then opened my desk drawer, pulling out a folder me tax records. She flipped through, paused, and slipped a single page into her pocket. My heart pounded, but I smiled. Got you. I called Julia that night, my voice low so Tom wouldn't hear if he came home early. I have proof. She's stealing documents. Julia didn't hesitate. Bring it to me. We'll start building a case fraud, maybe identity theft. And Marilyn? Get a P.O. box. Stop letting her touch your mail. I followed her advice the next day, renting a box at a post office 2 miles away. I redirected my bank statements, bills, everything. Karen wouldn't notice. Not yet. She thought I was still the trusting fool who baked her cookies. I couldn't keep avoiding her forever, though. I needed to see her, to look in her eyes and know if there was any shame left. So I invited her to dinner, just the two of us, claiming I wanted to catch up. She showed up Friday night, her heels clicking on my porch, her smile as fake as the pearls she wore. I served roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, the kind of meal I used to make for Tom. Karen picked at her plate, chattering about a new condo she and Tom were eyeing downtown. It's modern, Marilyn. You'd hate it. All that glass and steel. Her laugh was a knife. I waited until dessert peach cobbler, warm from the oven before I made my move. I set my phone on the table. The screen paused on the camera footage. Karen, honey, can you explain this? I pressed play. Her face drained as she watched herself rifling through my desk, stealing that page. She stammered. That's it's not what it looks like. I was just organizing things for you. Organizing? I kept my voice soft, like I was soothing a patient. Or taking what's mine? I slid a printed bank statement across the table, the withdrawals circled in red. $5,000, Karen. That's not a mistake. She flinched, her fork clattering against the plate. Tom needed it, okay? For the business. I was going to tell you. Her eyes darted, searching for an escape. I leaned forward, my gaze steady. Don't lie to me. I've seen enough. Karen's mask cracked. She shoved her chair back, her voice shrill. You're blowing this out of proportion. I'm family, Marilyn. You can't do this. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Family doesn't steal, Karen. And I'm not as clueless as you think. She stormed out, slamming the door, leaving her cobbler untouched. I sat there, the house quiet again, the scent of peaches lingering. I felt no triumph, only a deep, aching sadness. Karen wasn't just stealing money, she was stealing the family I'd built, the love I'd poured into her and Tom. I walked to my sewing room, my sanctuary, where an old quilt lay half-finished on the table. The lamp cast a warm glow, and I sank into the chair, my hands tracing the fabric's familiar stitches. I thought of Tom, how he used to curl up here as a boy, watching me sew, asking if I could make him a cape to be a superhero. I thought of Karen, her apologies as hollow as her promises. Could I forgive her? Could I cut her out like a wilted rose? Or was there still something worth saving? I didn't know. But as I sat there, the needle steady in my hand, I felt the roots of my strength stirring beneath the soil of my hurt. Have you ever had to face a truth that broke your heart? Do you think Marilyn should forgive Karen? Or keep fighting for what's hers? Subscribe to our channel to find out what happens next. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this journey going together. The roses in my garden were blooming brighter than ever, their petals unfurling under the soft October sun. I knelt among them, my pruning shears snipping away dead leaves, each cut a quiet promise to myself. I was Marilyn Forrester, 62, a woman who'd spent decades nurturing others, me son Tom, my roses, even Karen, the daughter-in-law who tried to uproot my life. But now I was tending to me. After catching Karen stealing from my accounts, I'd turned my hurt into action. The camera footage, the bank statements, the unpaid bills, they were my armor, proof that I wasn't the fool she thought. I'd shown her the evidence over dinner, watched her scramble and lie, but I didn't stop there. I was done being invisible in my own home, a 2-story haven in Asheville, North Carolina, where every creak of the floorboards held a memory of love and loss. I met Julia Hastings, my lawyer and old friend, in her downtown office the next morning. The room smelled of coffee and ink, sunlight streaming through tall windows, gilding the Blue Ridge Mountains in the distance. I spread my evidence on her desk. Printouts of withdrawals totaling $5,200, the video of Karen pilfering my tax records, the utility bill she'd never mailed. Julia's eyes narrowed as she read. "This is airtight, Marilyn. We can file for fraud and lock her out of your finances. But we need to protect you long term." We started with my accounts. I closed every one Karen had touched, opening new ones under a trust only I controlled. Julia helped me redirect my Social Security deposits and pension checks to a credit union across town. I paid off outstanding bills myself, the satisfaction of each check sharper than any thorn. Then came the will. I'd written Tom and Karen into it years ago, trusting they'd honor my love. Now, I rewrote it in Julia's office, my pen steady. Tom would get a small sum, enough for a fresh start, but nothing for Karen, not a dime. "You sure about this?" Julia asked, her voice gentle. I nodded. "I'm not punishing them. I'm protecting myself." Back home, I locked my financial files in a new safe in the hall closet, its combination known only to me. I changed the alarm code, too, the old one, a relic of when I thought Karen was family. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of my life, like weeding a garden choked by vines. But the hardest part was still ahead, facing Tom and Karen, not just with papers, but with the truth. I invited them for brunch on Sunday, setting the table with my blue china, the plates Tom used to brag about to his friends. The kitchen smelled of egg salad and fresh coffee, the kind of meal that used to bring us together. When they arrived, Tom hugged me, his embrace hesitant, like he sensed a storm coming. Karen's smile was tight, her eyes darting to the study door where she'd been caught. "This looks nice, Marilyn," she said, her voice syrupy, very traditional. We ate in near silence, the clink of forks loud against the tension. Tom talked about work, Karen about a new gym downtown, but their words felt like static. I waited until Tom reached for another slice of toast, then set a manila envelope beside his plate. "There's something we need to talk about," I said, my voice calm, like I was discussing the weather. Karen froze, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. Tom frowned, opening the envelope. Inside were the legal notices, a fraud report filed with the bank, a restraining order barring Karen from my accounts, and an eviction notice giving them 30 days to leave the guest cottage on my property. Tom's face paled. "Mom, what is this?" I looked at Karen, her eyes wide with panic. "It's the truth, Tom. Karen's been stealing from me $5,000, maybe more. She took documents, forged my name, lied about bills. I have proof." I slid my phone across the table, the camera footage cued. Tom watched, his jaw tightening as Karen's silhouette rifled through my desk. Karen stammered, "It's not like that. I was helping Tom, you know I was." "Stop," I said, not loud but firm. "You thought I was too old to notice, Karen. Too sentimental. But I see you clearly now." I turned to Tom, my heart aching. "I raised you to be better than this. You let her do it, even if you didn't hold the pen." Tom's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I didn't know it was this bad. I swear." Karen grabbed his arm, her voice breaking. "Marilyn, I'm sorry. I was desperate. Tom's business was failing. We needed the money. I didn't mean to hurt you." Her tears were real, but I'd seen her crocodile tears before. I leaned back, my hands folded. "I believe you're sorry, Karen. But sorry doesn't undo theft. It doesn't rebuild trust." I looked at Tom, my boy, caught in the middle. "You can stay, Tom, if you choose to leave her. But Karen, you're not welcome here anymore. Not in my home, not in my life." Karen sobbed, burying her face in her hands. Tom stared at the table, his silence louder than her cries. I didn't flinch. I'd spent years softening my edges for them, but now I stood tall, my roots deep and unyielding. "You have 30 days, I said. "Make your choices." They left without another word, the cottage door slamming behind them. I cleared the table, the china clinking softly, and felt a strange peace settle over me. I wasn't happy, not yet, but I was free. The next week, I joined a book club at the Asheville library, a cozy room smelling of old pages and cedar. I sat among women my age, their laughter easing the ache I'd carried too long. We read Anne of Green Gables, and I found myself smiling at Anne's stubborn hope. At home, I tended my roses, their blooms a riot of red and pink against the autumn chill. I started a journal too, filling its pages with thoughts I'd never dared speak. My dreams of traveling, my pride in surviving, my love for Tom, even now. One evening, I sat in my kitchen, a mug of chamomile tea warming my hands. The fridge still held those family photos, but they didn't sting anymore. I looked at one of Tom and me, his tiny hand in mine at a county fair, and realized I'd given him everything I had. If he chose Karen, that was his loss, not mine. I was enough. Outside, the roses glowed under the setting sun, their shadows long and soft. I stepped into the garden, the air crisp, and plucked a single bloom. Its petals were velvet against my fingers, its thorns a reminder of my strength. I held it up, the sunlight catching its edges, and whispered, "No matter your age, you're worthy of love, especially your own." That truth had carried me through the storm. It would carry me forward too. If Marilyn's journey touched your heart, you're not alone. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories of courage and healing, and share your own in the comments below. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself like Marilyn did? Let's inspire each other.